Welcome to this Killick Explains video. It's another topical one. Those people who've been keeping an eye on some of the fallout from the Theranos disaster, as it's now become known, will know where I'm going with this one, but I wanted to draw some investing lessons out, as I've done in the past from the collapse of Carillion, for example. This time, the collapse of Theranos, as it was called, a little bit of the backstory and a little bit of the investing lessons. And then at the end, some extra sources of information for those people who want them. So, I'm going to kick this off with a poll result. On Twitter and LinkedIn, I did ask the question, for me, a compelling investment story is one that is ... Is what? Well, here come the results. So, Well Told attracted 11% of the total votes. Underpinned by data, 79% of the total votes. Often repeated in the media and so on, and on websites, 6%. And finally, backed by some big names, came in at 4%. So the winning score there was, I believe, stories that are backed by data, and that's awesome. But is that always true? And Theranos is a lesson in people not basically taking enough account of data and being wooed too much by a well-told story, big names being involved, lots of media coverage and so on, hence the poll result. So for those people thinking, what's he talking about? What is Theranos? A very brief summary. If you want to watch more on this, there's an excellent documentary called The Inventor, all about Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos. I'll leave you to watch that in your own time, but here comes a potted summary, basically. The Theranos story in a nutshell. Now, this was a US medical startup founded by Elizabeth Holmes, very bright, very charismatic, very persuasive. Theranos, slightly interesting name, she says, came from the idea of combining the words therapy and diagnosis, so Theranos, and that gives you a clue as to what was on offer here. Basically, she claimed to have invented a little black box which was small enough almost to stand at home, certainly in a local pharmacy, and what this little black box could do was take a pin-prick blood sample, you sort of fed it into the machine, and then it could diagnose up to 200 conditions potentially off that one sample. So this was seen as revolutionary, because rather than having to draw lots and lots of blood, which people don't like, why would you, then have it sent off to a lab, analysis, lots of big equipment, lots of scientists and pharmacists, and then getting results. This claimed to be a compact, fast, less invasive way of drawing blood and analysing it. It's quite a compelling story, all right? Now, the investment case basically hinged on a belief in her vision. And boy, was it quite a vision. I mean, at one point, the company was valued at as much as $9 billion US. She went selling the story, raising capital around Silicon Valley. Big names were drawn into it, the likes of George Shultz, Henry Kissinger, even Joe Biden were seen basically backing the story, backing the concept. I mean, the story was highly attractive, but it turned out, to cut to the chase, that this $9 billion company, so-called, was nothing of the sort. It was built substantially on fraud. In essence, no one ever really got to see what went on inside that black box. They couldn't therefore verify the claim that 200 different types of tests could be done on a tiny drop of blood inside it. And in order to back her claims that this was happening, it turned out that the blood samples were being sent off to more conventional laboratory testing in order to try and get some sort of credible set of results back. And worse than that, the fraud bit was that people were being given results that weren't even factually correct, weren't built on proper testing, analysis, and so on. So it turned out the diagnostic black box didn't work. The so-called results were being faked, if you like. The company is now bankrupt, in case you're wondering what happened to it, and she's facing prison after a lengthy trial. So there you have it. As I say, there is a much longer documentary that gives you a lot more of a flavour, fascinating to watch, around how this company was built, how she drew in quite so many big names, and hence the reason why I set the poll result in the first place. Because actually, what are the investing lessons we can draw out of this? Well, I think there are four. There are probably more than that. First of all, for investors, And these are old lessons, but people keep failing to learn them, if you like, keep repeating the mistakes. There are no free lunches. She seemed to be offering a quick buck to people who bought the vision. And the vision was attractive. It's a credible thing to offer, but only if you can deliver it, if you like. So there are no free lunches. If something looks too good to be true, number two, it probably is. Investors need to be cynical. They need to be prepared to set aside the charisma of a CEO and actually look under the bonnet of what's going on. What you don't understand, you probably shouldn't buy. I mean, diagnostics, pharmaceutical diagnostics and so on, to analyse blood samples for conditions such as cancer and all sorts of other serious problems, that is niche, that is specialist. And yet a lot of investors were drawn in by the kind of neatness of the vision and the story. And I'm a big believer in show me, don't tell me. In other words, tell me the story. I want the context. I want to understand what it is you're offering, but then I need the data. And I'm glad for my particular poll that 79% of people who responded said I'd like to see a story underpinned by data. I hope that is true. Look for proof. Don't just buy into the vision. Now, I've covered a lot of ground there and mentioned a documentary as I've travelled. If you'd like to know a little bit more about equity market investing in general, I do have a guide you could ping me for, editor@killick.com. If you'd like to watch related videos on any of the topics I've covered, you can go to our extensive library, killick.com/learn. And whilst it doesn't talk about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, if you'd like a copy of our quarterly magazine, Confidant, full of lots of investing ideas and thought leadership, if you like, then also ping us an email, editor@killick.com, and we'll be happy to set that up for you.